Um, um, Welcome, Machu. Welcome to the meeting. But yeah, Jay, share with us the good news.
Okay. Let me just, before I do that, let me just give a couple of little things that we, come through my purview. One is just the only, hey, Matu, the only thing that came along this month, as far as land use stuff that came to the mailbox, was a woman asking for a renewal of her home occupation permit application for her small massage therapy business at her home at 2927 Northeast Flanders. So it's something, it's just something she's already been doing that she was just has to let us know as part of the renewal process. Her moolah's fairly much the same. Josie and I met a few weeks ago and finally got her check deposited, or our check deposited that was written to her name in the account. So now we have a whopping $7,199 balance. And that's
Nice.
We have this monthly cost for the host web thing that's whatever it is, $8 a month, $7.99 a month, and that's pretty much our only cost. And I think the only other cost we had last month was $26 as part of the yearly registration thing we have to do with the state that I sent in for us. So here's the good news: is I finally, after way too long, and I apologize to all concerned that I just got behind the eight ball in my personal life with a bunch of projects, and this sounds like something from Queen for a Day. And my aging mother has gone nuts too. But I deal with a lot of stuff these past couple months. But anyway, she's a little better situated, not getting better, but the care is better. And I finished a bunch of my projects. So I was able to spend a fair amount of time last week and a little bit the week before really pushing on the banner project. And I got some good stuff. In particular, I was connected with this guy named Steve who owns this company named Banners of Every Kind that's based here and in Seattle, who's already made banners for like 5 of the Portland neighborhood associations before. And
nice.
So he's got it down. And I'm waiting for him. He told me he was super busy last week, but he's sending me prices. He's sending me specs. I don't think we're going to have to reinvent the wheel as much as we thought we were going to before, because he's hip to all of this already, and including referrals from other organizations he's going to send me so I can talk to people about how it was to work with him and how they were and everything. This will include prices as well. So that's a great step forward. I also went and talked to this woman named Kate Bingaman Burt, who runs this little design studio called Outlet that's up in the Kevin Kavanaugh project, the Hatch project up on Sandy around 23rd there. And she's actually, her office is just inside that interior courtyard across from the Gorilla Development, which is Kavanaugh's business offices there. Anyway, she's the woman that last year was making those wonderful posters and giving them out to people for free all over the neighborhood with things about human rights and dignity and stuff. Very interesting person. And I wanted to talk to her about some thoughts about suggestions for print shops to work with for manufacturing, et cetera, et cetera. And she just got completely excited and said, well, I'm also the head of the design department at PSU. And how about if my class this fall takes on the Kerns Neighborhood Association gratis as like a project to come up with ideas and techniques for marketing and design stuff beyond the banner. Like, what else can we think of? What else can we help of?
Fantastic.
So there's one really nice thing. She is also, I think, willing and able to help us if we want. I think we had talked about a month or two ago, pretty much not reinventing the wheel with a different logo or a different design, but sticking with their pre-existing. Dave hasn't got his hat on, so you can't see it. But the current, spoke sunset, there it is. Oh, beautiful technology. Yeah. So keeping that, maybe for our banners, and depending on what we want to say, something friendly on there too, maybe about welcome or, the home of a mile's worth of sticky icky. I don't know, whatever phrase we want to make up for the neighborhood. So anyway, that's also, I think, really useful. I'm waiting to hear back from Julie Mouse, who I found out was really the person at PBOT that can help us, where she's kind of spearheading a large part of the Sandy improvement corridor stuff with traffic calming and the different things they're doing. And sort of like they're doing on Hawthorne now, except it's going to be, I think, more extensive. And anyway, I wrote a long thing to her about, we want to get in on it, and we're between, it borders our neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. And how can you help us? How can you help us? How can we help you with some of the things we want to do in terms of traffic calming and neighborhood association and community building, et cetera, et cetera. I'm waiting for the Eastside Business Association. They're tracking down somebody about funding. They got a lot of their funding from a grant from Venture Portland, which is that mostly goes to for-profit businesses. But I've also reached out to them and said, can we? What we want to do is as a nonprofit, and it's not a nonprofit concept, but it's the same idea that the Eastside Business Council had, which was to identify and build identity and community awareness of their neighborhood. So I'm hoping I can at least get some information from them. I wrote a long thing to Kevin Cavanaugh, who's the principal of Guerrilla Development, and said same thing, like you're deeply invested in this neighborhood. You've done some major interesting projects. He's got a big one coming up now. He's going to be developing that site on 26th and Sandy, where they're recycling. It's kind of down the edge from the hatch where the recycled building material place has been the past couple of years. If you can go there in your mind, that's going to be his next big apartment complex. And he's already got some hip things involved with it that I've read about, including giving a discount for teachers and social workers who rent apartments in the building. And so as usual with his projects, he's got some kind of little personal quirks, whether they're design or otherwise built in, that it should be interesting. But I thought he's definitely, I know we talked, excuse me, I'm being scattered for a second. I know we talked a few months ago also about trying to get other big developers in the neighborhood, on board with how they can give us money, if nothing else. And I'm trying to get a hold of, I haven't gotten any response from the Urban Development Partners, who are a big group that does a lot of stuff in the neighborhood. But Kavanaugh is a small group, but he's done some interesting and innovative projects, from the Zipper to the building that Crema's in up on 28th and Ankeny, and those buildings down, the Dumbbell down along, lower Burnside there. And I really think that he would be a great person to have involved. And in fact, I'm going to try and see if I can get him to join our board. I also want to see if I can get Michael from the Mattress Lot, who's been a big supporter of us these past years, to join our board. Because I think, rather than just, I know we've got plans to reach out to people and try and draw people in through the postcard and through the website and through our activities. But I also think if anybody of us, and any one of us, know people that we think could be like contributors, movers and shakers, that we should just reach out to them directly and say, hey, would you, could you, can you, will you? So that's about what's happening with that. But I really think that the two connections, one with the design woman and her class, and also with the banner manufacturer, who's got all this experience and has done it already for different neighborhoods in Portland, is just a sea leap forward in trying to get this off the ground. Last but not least, I want to thank everybody who responded about that thing related to the post office and the Joy and his cronies and stuff. It's pretty neat. They've gotten a letter signed by not only Blumenauer, but DeFazio and Bonamici that's gone to the Congress. They don't want just to undo some of their actions. They want to remove him and his sub-crony group. And I'm all for it. In any event, if anyone wants to attend this, it's next noon at the post office on 7th, one block, not 7th, I'm sorry. What's the exact street number? It's the post office that's just a block north of Broadway, down, on the Lower East Side here. So our neighborhood post office is split between the one on 7th, a couple of blocks south of Hawthorne, and then this one, which is on, I can't think of the number street. I want to say 8th, a block north of Broadway. It's just
yes, by the old On Point Credit Union.
Exactly. It's diagonally across from the old, exactly. It's diagonally across from the original location of On Point there. Anyway, so it's going to be there, and it's noon, and it's cake, and it's some speakers and some whatever, noise blowers and things, but they've got some, the mayor's going to be there. Blumenauer is going to be there. I'm sure there'll be some other luminaries. There'll be some small fish like myself, and but it's basically a rally to like get some momentum going for doing something about this, because they have, Joy didn't get, Biden hasn't been able to successfully get rid of him yet because it was some sort of supposedly apolitical appointment. And meanwhile, they've already done some terrible voter suppression shit with some of the changes they made with the post office during and before the election. But now they've got some 10-year plan that's just nefarious and terrible. And also part of this is being organized by postal employees, the Postal Employees Union, who are deeply unhappy about it. So in any event, thank you for permission to go over and stick our 2 cents in support of it next week. That's next Monday afternoon at noon. And I believe that's all I have that's worth relating right now.
So the general population isn't invited to that, right, Jay?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so can you give us specifics then? I didn't get all of it.
Oh, yeah. So it's noon next Monday.
Funny.
At
At the post office.
I think I'm muted.
Okay.
And I can't do it now because I'm a computer maroon and I don't know how to like access my email while we're on this. But after the meeting, I can get the letter that's got the details and send it out to the KNA website or board list and stuff.
That'll be good. Okay. And they would encourage us to have people attend then, right?
Sure.
Okay. Can I ask you a question about your the banner thing?
Yes.
Did you need any help with the poll identification and all that? Is somebody working on that or?
No, I thought it was kind of horse before the cart, but definitely I've got your name, I've got Daniel's name, he's on board. And I figure like as soon as we get the hard, cold facts more, the statistics,
Okay.
the pricing, the same thing with fundraising. We've got this incredible offer from Joe Weston from American Property Management, who said he'd pay for 25% of anything we come up with as long as he approves of it. And I don't think there's anything about this he would disapprove of. So I think once we have specific numbers, we can use his support in that way as a lever to get other support. The one thing, I'm glad you asked that though, Rebecca, the one thing I didn't report on is that I also reached out to Christine Calhoun, who's the big Maha at the Regional Arts Commission on public art stuff. And I'm waiting for a response from her about how they can support us. Is it a specific grant cycle? Is it, can we just ask for something from the general fund? But I know they have some monies within their bigger pool that I think would apply to this because it's a form of public art.
Yes, and it will be.
Yeah. So thank you. I will definitely call upon you as soon as things are a little more defined.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jay.
That's a lot of great stuff, Jay. Thank you.
Yes.
Maybe I'll go next because by the order of our agenda. So I have some goodies. So let me share my screen. And if anyone else wants to share your screen later, feel free to. Well, let's see. I'm going to go to this one first. This one was, I saw this. There's this community placemaking grants from Metro. And we have from August 6th to October 1st, up to $193,000 to be awarded for community placemaking grants. So this is yet another potential source for grants for placemaking. So that's just one thing I wanted to share. I did send an email out about this. Another thing I wanted to share that's going on is there's this thing called Clean Camp PDX. And there's a group of—
Before you go any further,
yeah.
that somebody's working on that grant?
No, nobody's working on it, but it's just between August 6th and October 1st, the application for the next grant cycle is available. So we still have till October 1st, but it's run by Metro, and it is you know, it's a good opportunity. Um, Josie had sent one out, a national placemaking grant, but there are grants available for things, you know, um, that we should keep in mind. Um, let's see. But I was going to talk about just a few assorted things. There's this group called Clean Camp PDX, and I help them with their website, cleancamppdx.org. Over by the Pepsi building, they have a dumpster, and they're helping homeless camps dispose of their garbage.
Okay.
And so they're starting to have numerous locations. If you go to their website and go to locations, one of them is 25th and Holiday, that's in Kerns. One of them is over by the Broadway Bridge. One of them is downtown. But anyway, one of them is in our neighborhood. So I thought I would draw people's attention to this as another resource. Then the other thing I was going to talk about is We Shine has continued to be very active, and I'm on the board, and Rebecca is a volunteer. We had a big fundraiser on Sunday, and I invited everyone on the board to that. It was very successful, very, very successful. We had a big turnout. We raised a lot of money, but I want to say something interesting. These were people that have lived in Portland their whole life, and people did not know where Kerns is. Kerns really suffers from a lack of recognition within Portland. These are inside connected Portlanders who just don't know where Kerns is. So, you know, I think we've been overshadowed by Laurelhurst. And so many of our businesses are called Laurelhurst this and Laurelhurst that. So I do think we have a great opportunity for branding our neighborhood. But as for We Shine, here's something kind of interesting. These Conestoga huts are something we've been looking at. There's a group down in Eugene, and it's called Community Supported Shelter. And a team from our group went down to Eugene and took tours of it, and they're gonna help us build these Conestoga huts for Portland. We don't have any in Portland yet, but they're very successful. They design them. They're really nice for sheltering people. You have your own personal porch. You have your own storage in the back, and yet they're not so wonderful that people want to, you know, can't stay there forever and make it a permanent home. I think the goal is to make it comfortable, but yet not super comfortable, you know. And there's like a community area in the middle. But I just wanted to show you in Eugene, here is a map in Eugene, Oregon, of all these different shelters that they've set up with these Conestoga huts. And this is exactly what we're trying to do here in Portland. The idea is you set up a template for a village. Each village has a manager and social workers and bathrooms and kitchens, but you kind of spread it around the city, so that you don't concentrate everyone in one place. And each one can develop a personality of its own with its own characteristics where the people feel comfortable. And so this is essentially, they're a few years ahead of Portland, but this is what We Shine is. This is the kind of idea for We Shine. So
How many are on per site, Dave?
how many per site? I think about 10 in Eugene.
Yeah.
Let's see, I don't know if they have the actual statistics, but I think they have 300 people. They have 14 villages. So I don't know what the math is. 10 times 14 is 140. So maybe they have 20 per village.
The huts are right there.
What's that?
I said key is right there. There's 14.
Oh yeah, they tell you right here. Oh yeah, so it varies quite a bit. You're right, good point. Some have 3, some have 6, some have 14, some have 18. So it varies by site. But this really is kind of, we at We Shine really think this is a successful model. It spreads it around the city. Every neighborhood kind of does its part to help but it doesn't, each one of them is managed, and it doesn't burden any neighborhood overly. And then they're small enough that the neighbors can work with them and make sure that they integrate in the neighborhood, and they're not like, don't create adversity within the neighborhood. Like, inevitably there's going to be neighbors that oppose it, but the idea is that we work closely with the neighbors to help mitigate any issues from these. And for the most part, it's actually the opposite. Let's say you have a vacant lot that's being vandalized, there's graffiti, there's litter, there's people kind of loitering there. If you put a village there, then that there's no longer those troubles. Like the lot right by my house was tagged recently, and I was like, well, if there was a village there, it wouldn't have been tagged. So anyway, so we're excited. At We Shine, there's a lot of momentum. We've been meeting with city commissioners, county commissioners. We're starting to get some media publicity in the future coming up. So that's something exciting. What else?
Before you change the subject,
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
So how did the people in Eugene go about getting land space for their?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the city of Eugene is cooperating with them a lot, but also a lot of them are churches, Christian Science Church. There's several churches, but I think it's also the city of Eugene, that is working with them much more than the city of Portland is working, with people, although they're trying in their own ways.
Speaking of Dave, has Sam Adams been a part of your conversations?
Well, we've talked to almost all the city commissioners. We've reached out to them. We've reached out to the mayor. Some people from We Shine went and spoke at the city council meeting last week. And so the mayor knows about us.
I think he was tasked by the mayor to sort of spearhead this for the city now.
Well, actually, Dan Ryan is the one that's working on homeless camps, and he's the one that's come up with this, the plan where the city of Portland had to find locations for homeless, and they're going to do 6. Sam Adams is actually more tasked with cleanup. His job is to clean up, but Dan Ryan is in charge of like homelessness issues.
That's even better, because Dan Ryan is a really good guy.
Yeah, no, and how the city of Portland has come up with this plan to create 6 shelters. They on city properties, and each one I think is going to have maybe 20 or 30 people in it. But we just need lots and lots of different groups to work on this, because I don't think anyone knows the exact population of homeless people in Portland, but I think it's around 5,000 or 6,000. I think they're going to do a good thing by doing those villages, but our vision is that every neighborhood in the city has at least one village. One other thing I wanted to mention real quick before I forget, Kerns actually has a homeless shelter in it, very near the Norse Hall. I see David Champion just joined us. I can't remember what it's called, but because in our model, every neighborhood would do its part to have like a homeless shelter, but Kerns actually already has one, a big one. And David Champion, is your microphone on?
Yes.
What is the name of the homeless shelter? It's like the shelter right by your, North Hall.
Gene's Place is part of Transition Projects.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, Gene's Place is in Kerns neighborhood, and it has a pretty big population. So as far as we have a chart of all the neighborhoods in Portland, and kind of the idea is every neighborhood should step up and do its part to create shelters for people without houses. So Gene's Place actually already is contributing
Only for
to
women,
that.
though, I believe.
What's that?
It's only for women, I believe.
That's correct.
Ask.
Well,
That's
it's
correct.
only for women, but that's that's still very useful.
Sure, of course. I'm just saying it's
But still, We Shine wants to create several, we call them micro villages, in Kerns, in Sullivan's Gulch, in Laurelhurst. And we're actually in discussions with some privately owned parking lots. We've reached out to churches all over the city, and we've really worked with churches to put it in their parking lots. And so far, that hasn't been a reality. But we're having better luck with privately owned parking lots where they're just sitting there, nobody's using them. But we're going to pay rent, $1,200 a month for these villages. So, you know, we're starting to have some success. We're still in negotiation. I don't want to say the location yet because it's not public yet, but
Yes.
But
happened?
You're still there.
It's in Kerns.
This one is actually in Sullivan's Gulch. It's across the highway, but you know, there's actually a parking lot in on Sandy and 24th that I think it used to be a car dealership, and it's got a fence around it now. And I've been taking a look at that and thinking, gosh, that would make a really good village. If you ever see like a parking lot with a fence around it that's not being used, let me know.
Okay.
Because you know, those would be perfect for putting a little village. So anyway, I wanted to move on really quickly, and because we don't have that many people here today, you know, hopefully it's okay to go a little over. But I wanted to talk about Southeast Uplift. I'm on the board. I represent Kerns as a representative at Southeast Uplift, and they're in a lot of transition. They currently have a transitional executive director right now, and I'm on the board. I'm on the committee at Southeast Uplift for the search for the next executive director. So I just wanted to share that Southeast Uplift is about to put out a you know, jobs wanted a jobs wanted ad for executive director of Southeast Uplift. So if you want to apply for it, or you know anyone who wants to apply for it, it's going to pay between 75 and 80,000 a year, and it's the executive director of Southeast Uplift. They're also going to add a new position, which is board coordinator, because they've been having a lot of issues with the board of directors being kind of dysfunctional, because what happens is neighborhood associations either won't send someone to the board, or they'll send someone and that person will leave and they'll send someone else. And also there's like a lot of, and Machu is here, so I thought he could speak to this a little bit, but there's just been a lot of turnover and lack of institutional knowledge at Southeast Uplift. So I just wanted to share that they're really working to get more organized, to find a visionary executive director who can really come in and help Southeast Uplift to really get its bearings and be a more, you know, do a better job, let's say, of reaching out to the neighborhood associations, reaching out to the community, and tying everything together. So I'm excited about that, and I just wanted to share that with our group.
The title is executive director, is that right?
Yeah. Southeast Uplift, you know, has had a series of executive directors going back to 1968. But the last few years, they've had a lot of turnover, both the executive director and the staff and the board. So in general, there's just a lot of turnover. It's a great organization. It does a lot of great things, but it's trying to become more stable and get a stronger institutional setup so that it can function better. So anyway, I feel like I should move on. I'm going to stop sharing. Would someone like to go next?
I can go next.
Great.
I'm going to turn off my video though,
Okay.
because I'm going to be reading my emails here. So basically, update on the postcard. I have been getting bids. And so far, I have gotten bids from the UPS store, also Impress Printing. And I think there's one other one, but I'm not finding that one right now. And I'm really kind of leaning toward the UPS store, but I'm not positive right now. You know,
Want to
basically,
share what the bids are, Josie, or?
well, I'm going to have to get a little, you know, they wrote me some emails, but I don't even understand because they didn't really go over everything in these emails. So I'm going to have to get some clarification.
Okay.
But the one from the UPS store says it's for EDM, which is what we're doing. And it's a 6x12 on glossy stock, 20 cents each. The postage on each EDDM is 20 cents each. And building the EDDMs in a pack of 100 and delivering to them to post office is $250. And I'm not clear on that. I mean, I don't know, you know, because there's going to be like, I don't know, 8,000 or something. So I don't know what he means by that. I have to get clarification on that. So that's, you know, they all write them differently. So, and I've been really busy with stuff at home, a lot of disasters. So I apologize. I haven't been as proactive as I would like to be. But that's kind of where I'm at. I'm still getting bids. I mean, obviously the design is done.
Thank you. Good job.
You're welcome. I did just notice something from Southeast Uplift about a mixer for everyone that received a grant. So I was going to look that over a little more and maybe try to make that. I meant to make it to your event, but you know, it's just too much going on.
No problem.
Wonder if Nicholas Kristof decides that running for governor is too whack, if we could get him to run for Southeast Uplift instead.
I also wanted to share that we have an exchange market Saturday, August 7th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's kind of BIPOC vendors and food vendors. So you all are invited to come out to that at the Southeast Uplift property. That's in addition to the mixer earlier in the week.
Cool.
Where's the Southeast Uplift property?
3534 Southeast Main Streets, 2 blocks north of Hawthorne.
Okay, thanks.
And a block away from the infamous founder of Garden Burger's crazy home. Go take a look at that sometime if you want to see a building that has no relationship to the neighborhood it was built in whatsoever.
It's a good observation, very true.
Well, thank you. Let's see, Josie, did you have anything more to add, or were you good for now?
I'm good for now because like I said, I really have to, you know, contact each one and go over this a little bit better because it's not detailed enough. They're just quick emails.
Yeah. Would you like help from me or anybody to do this research or do an analysis of it with you?
I'm good, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely good at that. I just have to have the time to do everything has been my problem.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. It sounds like you have things we were working on your house and other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I also was wondering if Machu had more to add, and then we could go to Michael and David also. Machu, did you want to add anything else about Southeast Uplift or?
I think you provided a good overview. We have been through multiple executive directors in the past several or few years.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the point of the two positions, is to create
Uh-huh.
institutional, structural continuity, and overcome some of the challenges that the past directors have faced. So, no, you did a good job, Dave, of summarizing what's going on right now.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a great organization, and it's just it really needs some stability, I think, and a vision of where it's going to go. But the city has been kind of not supporting all of these district coalitions. So there's always some instability there, but I think that one of the goals is to try to shore up other sources of funding in addition to the city, so that we're more stable and we're not so reliant on one source.
For anybody who wasn't here then, one of the things that will forever be fantastic about the Southeast Uplift was it spearheaded the effort. The freeway was originally going to go right through, directly east through Buckman, Sunnyside, bam, and they managed to help organize and make enough noise that they managed to change the route of that freeway. The
Yeah.
I-5 was actually, instead of going along, and granted, they should have done it differently, where instead of, cutting off the riverfront the way they did, but originally it was also going to swerve north and east and just go straight through a bunch of neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Great. How about Michael and David for updates?
I don't really have any updates.
No updates? How has the neighborhood been going from your perspective with all those restaurants and sidewalk dining and everything?
I guess I'll have to talk to Guero, because they expanded and now they have kind of a loud bar that's right up against the edge of the rest of the residential parks.
Mm-hmm. Is it kind of causing issues, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of not a very mindful thing to do.
Mm.
Plainly. But I really haven't talked to them yet, so I will ask them.
Yeah.
Noise mitigate. And everybody wants to live together, but there's a solution out there.
I have been amazed at what's happening on 28th with all the parking lane seating. I mean, it's really turned into a mecca for outdoor dining. But if it's too loud, that's a problem, if it's getting out of hand. But I think we're a destination for dining, obviously, on 28th. So I think it's very exciting. But if it's getting to be a problem, then let us know and we can help you talk to the restaurants.
Yeah, because they purchased a property that's further in from 28th, going towards 29. And yes, it's a CM2, I guess, but at the same time, it's residential.
Yeah. Well, we can help with that if there's an issue developing, reaching out to the restaurants.
Yeah.
A lot of business people are complaining because they don't have anywhere to park on 28th anymore because of, I've had some of my friends that have businesses complain about it.
That's what happens when you can build a megaplex apartment and provide
Don't get me started.
Some good news is the movie theater opened up again.
Hollywood's open too.
Nice.
So
David,
David wanted to speak.
I don't know, David, do you want to share some updates or goings on in your neck of the neighborhood?
He took a break.
He might be on a break. So what were you going to say, Rebecca?
Well, I was gonna I wanted to offer to undertake that grant thing that you proposed.
Oh,
Understanding that I don't know anything about writing grants, so I would need to get some, help from somebody who has experience in that. I don't know if anybody here has anybody that they can refer me to. I'll be happy to take that information if I'm going to put out a thing on next door and ask for help or whatever, to get it done. So.
well, I know Josie has had success getting grants from Southeast Uplift.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my first one.
Yeah.
And I think Gretchen I feel like Gretchen has grant writing experience.
Yep.
So we could form a grant committee, I think, to work with you on that. But also that could tie in with the placemaking committee with Jay and Daniel and Gretchen. So, we don't have a neighborhood meeting in August, but maybe we could set up some committee meetings to tackle some grants and banners and work maybe with Josie on postcards. So it feels like, maybe we're on the verge of actually making some progress on some longstanding projects that we've been kind of sitting on. David has your hand up. So, oh yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We want to hear
Oh, thank
your
God.
updates. Yeah.
Yes, I do. So for
Yeah.
one thing, as you know, my big project was that directory for the neighborhood.
Right.
And of course, there has been some, you might say, casualties of the pandemic. So some businesses have closed on and some have moved. I should have that updated pretty soon. Which ones are still around, which ones are not, but within about a month. And then after that, I'm going to hope to put the directory online, so any one of us can have access to it with all the information that's on it.
Great.
And we are seeing a very strange thing. The building where the Salvation Army sanctuary is, they're apparently up for sale. And that's
Really?
almost mind-boggling. Because for many years, up until about 20 years ago, the Salvation Army was a huge presence in our neighborhood. Not just the Roseway Circle, but the sanctuary, and at one time, the sanctuary building that is now used as a theater. That was all very belonged to the Salvation Army, huge presence at one time. My uncle was a Salvation Army officer, and that's where he hung out when he was a kid. And if that happens, that means that Rose Apartments are the only places left of what was once a huge presence in our neighborhood. It's definitely a change, passing the torch. Then the picnic, I did talk to a lot of our businesses. They're saying, please, not this year, hold off till next year. And I agreed. Right now would be the wrong time to have the picnic. It would be a kind of a mess. A lot of the businesses are right now thinking, oh, we're not organized enough to do this, but they do want to do it next year. And I agree. And so I've been contacting them already to get ready for next year.
Great.
Any questions?
I'd like to work with you to get that directory online. For example, we could integrate it with our website.
Yes.
So maybe when you're ready for that, if you could email me or call me, and whoever else wants to work with us. We already have kind of a mini directory on the website, but yours is much, much bigger and more extensive. But I can work with you to have it as a list and also as a map.
Yeah.
So
David,
yes.
I have a question for you. In an ideal world, that's a really bizarre building. I don't know if you've ever been inside there, but it's very strange. And
which building?
The old Salvation Army building that's now got the Triangle Theater on the first floor.
Yeah.
So
well, it didn't used to be. It was used to be pretty well laid out. My uncle was very involved there, and he used to show me pictures of the way it was when he was a young man. And he's part of a choir that sang there.
Right.
It was an incredible complex.
What I want to ask you is, in an ideal world, what would you like to see it become?
In an ideal world, I'd like to see it become another nonprofit of some kind. I think we have a lot of businesses, but the place where it is, it's a pretty good location for a good nonprofit one, ideally, that would be a good place for people to drop in for, I don't know, dance or something like that. Things like that nature. The children's gym is pretty close by, so there'd be like some fun synergy from that, for that resulting.
Okay, I'm
And
just curious because I have a strange inner knowledge of that building that I won't go into now, but it's a hell of a site. It's a really unusual building.
It was built a long time ago, so it's a very different kind of structure than we would have now.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be ADA compliant because, of course, it was made when it was built was long before ADA was even an issue. Like Norris Hall, it passes under the umbrella, under the radar of ADA and other guidelines.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
As long as it's not another Lexus dealership.
The big thing I'm looking at right now is the need to, there's a couple places that we'd like to get filled up very quickly that become meccas for vandalism and really bad behavior up by the storage locker, self-storage place.
Yeah.
Across the street from there, that's just awful.
Yeah.
And there are a couple places like that too. So
I don't understand the mentality of the people that just decide to scrawl all over the buildings and neighborhood, the taggers. I feel like, I mean, there's probably psychological profiles or something, but it's so maddening.
You know, just
It's definitely not pretty art, that's for sure.
No.
now, it's also another problem too, in that it's contributed to not so much in our neighborhood, but other parts of town, where they're thinking about, with the rise of violent crime, graffiti all over the place, and just a lot of behavior in general, and like maybe Portland's not a good place to open a business, and that is spreading fast.
Well, I just walked to Whole Foods a couple days ago and their glass on their doors was broken out again.
Yeah, they're not the only ones either. It's a little scary.
It's just not good.
No.
Well, I was going to actually ask about that because, I've been real concerned about vandalism and the stories from people that, they call the police and they don't ever respond and all this other kind of stuff. And I was just wondering if, what everybody thought about that. I didn't, my first thought is, or when it first started happening or coming to the surface, it seemed like the answer may be, well, you wanted to defund us and you got some of our funds. So now we're not going to, respond like you want us to, type of thing. But I don't know if that's what's going on or what, but it just seems like everything is, the crime is just escalating.
Well, the police would love to respond to all the things they get, but they no longer have the manpower to do that. They were facing a shortage before last summer. Now that shortage has gotten acute.
Right.
It is now really bad. And I just talked to two police officers. They sometimes eat near the at this one food cart near close to Norris Hall. And yeah, they're undermanned by a long shot. They're having a hard time covering the shootings in town with those multiple killings in downtown Portland last weekend. That just made it worse.
Yeah, it's all scary.
6 to 8 being killed. Was it 6 or 8?
No. One person, one 18-year-old woman was killed and 6 people were shot.
Okay, thank you. 6 people were shot, 1 was killed. But
it's bad. It's bad.
Still, it's bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Yeah.
But that's that little triangle of craziness that's down around 3rd and Davis, 3rd and Cooch, in Old Town, where there's those clubs like the Dixie Tavern and stuff, where a lot of suburbanites come in and there's like massive crowds at 2 a.m. and that's the nexus of a lot of the stuff that's happened in the past number of summers, the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. So there's that. The picnic is one of the things, the picnic that we have to remember is that it's part of National Night Out, in which the idea behind it is to work with the police. That's one of the ideas behind National Night Out. This year is not the right time to be doing National Night Out. Not yet. Things have calmed down a lot since last summer, but it's still pretty tense. And I know there's some groups that would just love to crash the party at our picnic if we had it this year. They've already said so.
Really?
One of my friends is with Rose City Justice. That's one of the groups. He said, yep, they're hoping to crash it this year.
Well, there's nothing to crash this year.
That's right. That's
Um,
one reason why.
I want to share a screen related to this conversation, if I may. We got a message from someone named April Sluiter. She said, I'm a business owner in the neighborhood. I wonder if there are any neighborhood watch programs. I wanted to attempt to spearhead one. If not, we also got threatened by a group and they were going to do damage to our place. Is there anyone that patrols? And I sent her to the City of Portland Community Safety Training Program. There's this thing called Neighbors Together program, and they do trainings. She didn't get back, but do you know her, Rebecca?
No, I think I probably read her stuff on Nextdoor.
Oh, okay. But it does feel to me and many people that the police are missing in action for whatever reason, and it just feels like we need to form our own safety patrols. But there's a lot of things to learn about that to make sure that they're equitable, that they don't pick on certain groups by profiling certain groups unfairly, if you know what I mean. Like it there's been a history, I think, of neighborhood patrols being run by people that don't have a lot of training. So sometimes biases can come out, say towards minority groups or different groups, rather than being equitable. So there are dangers there, and I think the city has changed their programs. But having said that, it just really feels like we as citizens, if you go in Nextdoor, it just looks like a cesspool of thievery and car thieves and vandals and
Nobody
people
ever
and
writes
people.
about their flowers.
What's that?
Nobody ever writes about the nice things because they're busy doing the nice things. It's all fear-based.
Yeah,
It is very fear-based.
It's very biased.
But
I do know about April.
People are being violated. I mean, people's yards, their backyards, their gates are being broken into in the backyard, and just vandalism all over the place and stuff. And I'm glad you brought it up, Dave, because that's kind of where I was going. I was wondering if you could do like a neighborhood watch. Do you know anything about this program?
Well, it's a City of Portland program called Neighbors Together. And if you go to their website, they have trainings that they can do. So maybe we should set one up, for our neighborhood. David was saying that he knows April Sluiter.
Yeah, I do. She's one of the owners of Culmination Brewing.
Well, apparently they've been having a lot of problems, and
They have.
it feels like as a neighborhood, rather than waiting for the police who have lethal weapons and often overuse their force, we should have a group of trained, citizens who can protect each other, but also use good judgment and, fairness and equity. But maybe we should set up a, Neighbors Together program training. What do you guys say?
Could be.
I think that's a good idea.
Another thought is that we could send letters to city council, mayor, whatnot, advocating for more policing, but done in a better way, not just, hey, get everybody back as they were with, militarized.
Yeah.
Remember that defund the police, which was a horrible, horrible slogan. But anyway, the intent behind that was to reform the policing so that we had social worker aspects or facets to it, and violent crime facets, and parking, business, infractions, whatever. But
Michael,
yes.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't know if you've been following this. So the city has set up, like as of a year or so ago, these things where let's send a social worker, let's send people with mental health skills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, counselors, two things as opposed, same thing with like the fire department sending out, the giant hook and ladder truck at zillions of thousands of dollars every time it leaves the station for, someone who's got a medical condition somewhere. They need little vans with medical personnel on the van, things like that. The city set up this program and then they defunded it this year.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
they've been writing about this in Willamette Week for a few months about how great idea. It was starting to go into action in neighborhoods like Lentz and stuff. And then they cut the funding by 2/3 for some crazy reason, because they barely gave it a chance to get started, where everyone's going, of course, you can't expect the police to be trained mental health professionals
Right.
and psychological counselors and stuff. So let's send out these smaller teams that can deal with stuff. And it's really frustrating to watch where they moved in the right direction and then they backed way off in terms of funding it.
Right, but eventually, if things get bad enough, there'll be enough pressure to increase funding, the police hire more people, but with the same model. So what I'm saying is maybe we advocate just a simple letter that states we'd like to have the model that was defunded, as Jay was saying.
Yeah.
And there's no
So
reason
if
we
we're
can't have both.
going to have an increase in headcount, let's do it in the way we think it ought to be done, and we support that model versus just get somebody out there, just start policing, start arresting people right and left, lethally as you did before.
Right. Someone pointed out in the past couple of years that when they grew up, and it wasn't in Portland, but in their neighborhood, that the police thought themselves and identified themselves as peace officers.
Yeah.
It was a different mindset as opposed to the us against them sort of thing that exists so much these days.
Well, what I have experienced when I've had to call them for something, their hands are tied now. They can't really do much with homeless people or with people loitering around that could be trying to rob, the plaid pantry or the neighbors or whatever they're doing. I called last night for 4 people hanging around. It's just one of those things that it doesn't seem they're doing anything.
It's really a conundrum.
I think we get these, if we go out and do this training with the city there's obviously limitations to what you can do. And I'm sure one of the limitations is you're not going to strike anybody or anything. And so if you find something, if you're out on patrol and you find something, going on and, you notify them, I mean, what's the difference? What's the difference going to be? I mean, you're probably not going to get a response.
I think, Rebecca, it's not so much the concept of the patrol and that thing, but more like the watch where you're getting people,
Presence?
to even if just the people on your block, we're going to agree to sort of be more conscious on each other's behalf. So if I see someone trying to break in your house, I'm not just well, that's your problem. I'm going to call the police. Whether they regard it in a timely fashion, respond in a timely fashion or not, it's a different thing. But it's this kind of building of awareness that we're all in this together, and we all want to be safe and cared for. And so I am my brother's keeper in that regard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm just saying that people they call in, to do that and report things, whether it's for themselves or whatever, but you still don't get a response. And, the hooligans know it. And so, there's no deterrent.
Yeah.
Can I read what it says? This is the Neighbors Together program. It says, whether you're new to Portland or want to meet your neighbors, or you have neighbors from different backgrounds you want to get to know, these trainings engage neighbors to build stronger and more unified relationships by working towards a shared goal, creating communities where all Portlanders feel safe, connected, and welcome. We provide free trainings and workshops for groups of 5 or more people who work, live, or go to school or play together in Portland. They're currently conducted virtually. Community groups meet to identify a safety interest. We develop a shared agreement of training Topic, the community safety team coordinates a training. Example, emergency preparedness, personal safety, social connections, youth safety. They have all these topics. But this is the key part I wanted to explain. Neighbors Together was intentionally designed in part to replace the outdated neighborhood watch program model. In more recent years, particularly in the wake of Black Lives Matter, it has become apparent that the neighborhood watch model promoted suspicion, enforcement, and bias, leading to snap judgments about who was allowed and was not allowed to be in certain areas. These judgments then led the police making any such perceived intrusions punishable and disproportionately impacted Black, Indigenous, and people of color community members. So, you know, in other words, a lot of times when you do community watches, it ends up being discriminatory. So it's important to have training so that that doesn't happen. But at the same time, I think I agree with Jay. I think if there just needs to be more communication among neighbors, and maybe there can be people that kind of just walking around the neighborhood, I think at night in groups without necessarily any weapons or any is still a deterrent to taggers, to
Catalytic converter people.
yeah, there's catalytic converter thefts, and there's taggers, and there's all kinds of people walking around doing weird things. I feel like it couldn't hurt to have groups of people, with lights. Again, it's important that they're trained so that it doesn't turn into bias or vigilante type things, but it's more just like having more community awareness and connections. But I do think these trainings would help us. So I don't know. I wish we had more people in our association in Kerns, because we really need more people to get involved, I think. We always have this core group that's great, but maybe with the postcard, we can recruit a lot more people and expand. But yeah, I do think we need something like this.
I mean, this sounds like a real unifying theme, right? Get to know your neighbors, build that trust, support for one another. Outreach and the civic life neighbors together training is the kind of the linchpin that makes it all come together.
Yeah, because if you're not properly trained, and then it can kind of go south. It can. But I think if we get good training, so I can take steps to organize it. There's a form on this page. Here's a form right here to fill out. So I'll go ahead and start this process, and set up some trainings for this.
Great.
So, but we also just need to keep recruiting people into Kerns Neighborhood Association so that we can grow and do a lot more outreach into the neighborhood, I think, and get stronger.
I'd like to blast it out on Nextdoor and invite people to do that. Perhaps put in there to sign up so that you have an idea, who's
I know.
How many is interested.
People on Nextdoor really need this because they always complain
Yes.
without providing solutions. So
Yeah.
well,
a lot of people are looking for things like this, yeah. So
I always put out an invitation to these meetings on Nextdoor, and I don't know if I get anybody. I always put out a post about our Kerns Neighborhood Association meetings, but
see it. I don't know where it goes.
I put it out there every month. I guess I should do it more often or bigger or something, but I feel like Nextdoor, as Michael said, there's a lot of negativity, but people are looking for solutions, so and I also just want to say we should reach out to the nonprofit groups in Kerns neighborhood. I don't know David Champion knows the number, but it's something like 100 nonprofit groups in our neighborhood. And I think we should really try to get them to come to our meetings and meet each other, meet us, and really form a stronger network, because everything is so isolated right now. And that's one reason we have all this crime. Yeah. So we're not meeting in August. So our next meeting will be in September, but let's get some committee meetings and maybe some trainings between now and September. It's great to see all of you month in and month out, and everyone's doing a great job. Anybody have anything else?
Nope, not right now.
Should we call it a day?
Okay.
All right.
It's great to see everybody. Thank you, Machu, for coming, and everyone on the board. And we'll see you in 2 months, but we'll also see you in everyone in committee meetings, hopefully, or
Yes.
you have the opportunity. Okay, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.